Blah blah blah, chocolate of love. Hey everyone, I'm Rowan. You might also know me as Meta Madness from Drag Race Holland, and you're watching Painted to Madness. I am beyond excited to make this video because it's gonna be my first YouTube video ever relating to drag makeup, and I want to show you guys how I do my makeup, what kind of techniques I have, how I look at the makeup, how I apply the makeup, and just take you guys with me on how I'm getting ready and how I'm transforming into madness. As you might have seen from the beginning of the video, we're gonna do a Christmas inspired look. It's gonna be very soft, elegant, everything I'm not basically. So if you want to see how I created this look, then keep on watching. So first off, we're gonna go in with Prosade, and Prosade is what I like to use to cover my brows. And I don't use the cream Prosade, but I like to use the liquid Prosade, because the liquid Prosade, in my opinion, I get a lot more control out of it. It takes a little bit to learn how to use it, but then once you understand it, it's like getting the most flat surface to cover your brows. So I'm just applying a little bit of the liquid Prosade using the brush that's inside of it, and I like to use the Quarreland Prosade. I believe it's one of the best. So I'm just painting through and just over the hairs, and then I'd like to go in the opposite direction so all of the hairs really get smattered in Prosade. Also make sure to really get a lot of Prosade in the beginning as well, because you might have some hair sticking out and you don't want that. And also make sure to go a little bit above and a little bit underneath. And now I just like to take a clear spoolie, like a mascara spoolie, and just slowly brush it up. You don't want to go too fast with this. You just want to give it its time to dry, but also help it steer into the direction that you want it to go. So as you can see, the mascara wand is really picking up the hairs, taking it flat, pushing it in the direction that I want it to go. So now I have a lot of excess above the brow. I just like to take my finger, take it off, and just apply it in the brow again. And just do that until you're fine with that. So just keep on using the spoolie until it's like fully flat. Okay, so as you can see, I like to take it a little bit more upwards and then to the sides, as my eyebrow is going to the side of my face. What this does, it really helps it lay flat and give the hair space to lay flat. You're just gonna do it like this. All the hairs are gonna be on top of each other, so it's not gonna be fully flat. And now that I'm giving it more space by taking it upwards and to the sides, it really lays down my brows flat, and it will also secure it that it will stay flat the whole day and not pop off. So now that we are done with the first layer of Prosade, we're gonna apply another layer, because right now you might have laid down the hairs, but in my opinion, if you're just gonna do one layer of Prosade, you're still gonna see a lot of texture. So if you're just gonna apply another layer of liquid Prosade, you're gonna fill in the gaps or the wriggles, so to say. I just like to pat it right now, because what this does is just gonna fill in all the gaps that are between the hairs. Just keep patting it in. Don't smear it, just keep patting it in until it's like fully covered. Also make sure to do the beginning again. And now it might look like it's gonna have a hard line, because I can still see that the glue or the Prosade is not blended out. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the edges of the Prosade and just tap it out with my fingers so it creates a thinner layer. Alright, and now as you can see, it just has a way thinner line, and you don't really see like an obvious line of where the glue is laying. Okay, so to determine if the glue is dry or not, you should hardly see any white left. It should be getting transparent. That's the beauty of Prosade liquid, is that it gets transparent. You can really see when it's dry and when you're allowed to powder it. So now I'm just gonna take a big ass powder puff and I'm gonna set it with some Ben Nye setting powder. This is a neutral set, so I'm just dipping in to a big old box of powder, tapping it off a little bit. And then I lightly tap it on top of the Prosade so the stickiness goes away, and then when all the stickiness is gone, I can really force it in with powder. So just lightly tapping on top of the Prosade so you don't lift it up. You just want to cover it with powder until it's not sticky anymore. And now you look like you're a crackhead. Anyway, so taking some more powder, and now I'm really gonna press it on there. And I didn't tap off the powder, I really just want a lot of powder to sit on top of this brow now. Make sure to do all the corners so your eyebrow is not gonna lift up at the end of the day or during your performance. And I just like to use a dense brush because now I can wipe off the powder with it very fast. That's one brow completely covered. And I'm gonna do the other brow off camera and I'll be right back. And now that I look like your most wanted desire ever, we're gonna go on with shaping the new eyebrows. I always go in with a dusty, musty old paint stick, and this one is in 070 white. And I just like to use like a small brush that I've used before yesterday. Nasty. Anyway, we're just gonna go in and we're gonna take some white paint. And I really like to warm it up, so I just like to go over it until it's like really feeling like it's gonna glide on my brush. I always like to go in on the bottom of my brow. I like to start from my own brow on the bottom and then I go up to make it more dramatic. And I just like to take zigzag motions to apply the paint. And I always like to make a dramatic, angry brow, so I'm gonna go in a curve upwards and then I'm also gonna go in a curve downwards. Ooh. So now what you're gonna do, now that you have drawn the bottom of your new brow bone shape, you're just gonna fill it in with the rest of the white to hide the rest of your eyebrow. And I just like to tap it in, because if you're gonna use a tapping motion instead of a sweeping motion, it's gonna give you more coverage on top of the brow. And you really wanna make sure that your brow is like fully covered so you don't get like any blue tones peeking through the paint. I don't drag the white highlight further than the bottom of my brow because I just want to lift the brows. So if I'm just gonna use the white above the brow, it's gonna create that my brow is snatched, pulled back, a real supermodel. So that's why I paint this whole piece with white paint. And now I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side and then do the base and then go back to the eyes again. So now that I'm done with shaping the brow bone structure, we're gonna go in with the base of our face. And I always like to start out with highlight, then do the foundation, and then go into contour. I know this might not be your normal routine, but I always like to paint as if light is bouncing on my face from like a 45-degree angle. So I always like to do the highlight first to shape my face, then do the foundation, and then do the contour. I'm a bit more of a fan of a dramatic highlight, so I still like to use the paint stick in white to give myself highlights on the face, but you can also go in with like a 406 or just something like ivory if you're light-skinned, to have a less dramatic effect. I'm just using it because I know how it looks like on stage light and how it looks like on photography, and I really like to have a lot of contrast in the shaping of my face. So I'm just gonna go in, warming it up again. I like to look at my face and I like to understand my shadows. So I understand that my face is very round, very big, but that also the light hits the most on this part of my face. You could test this yourself if you would put like a light of 45 degrees on top of yourself just to see how the light would bounce on your face. So I know that this part is very highlighted, my nose, my forehead, and if I want to make my face look smaller or slimmer, I always like to do like a little bit of highlight here as well to really create like a sunken in face. So I'm just gonna apply the white highlight on here. And I like to take it up like that. It doesn't have to be looking perfect or blended out because you're just gonna blend it out anyway with a beauty blender or a different brush later on. Do you kind of get the sense of what I'm doing? I'm like trying to make my face as snatched and small as highlighted as possible. So I always like to take it a little bit up on the nose as well, just to make my nose look like it's gonna be very tiny, very feminine, very slim basically. So now if I would look to the side and someone would approach me from the side, it would look like I have a very pulled back, snatched face. Once there's gonna be foundation and contour, you're really gonna see like the final results. Trust me, at some point you will stop looking like a crazy person. This method is basically called reverse contouring, so you're just gonna do the highlight and contouring first before you're gonna apply any foundation. This way you're gonna see how you're gonna shape your face before you're putting on like a full-on base. So now that we have done the highlight on the cheeks, we're gonna do the highlight on the forehead, which is basically just gonna be a big ass circle. But try to focus it on like the middle of your face. So like my wig is always up until here because I like to have a big ass forehead because it creates a round feminine effect. I'll put like until halfway the highlights and then I will take like a circle around that. Just the same as what I did with the eyebrows, I'm just tapping it over so it gives more coverage without distorting the texture of the laid down brows. Do you already kind of see what I'm trying to do here? Like I'm lifting the cheeks. I'm making my forehead more round, and the next step would be snatching the nose. On the top of the nose, I'm just gonna pat it again. Just try to keep it in the middle as much as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, we're just gonna blend it out anyway. Do a little bit on the brows as well, because this is gonna help out with blending the brows later and making it look more smooth. I've tried to connect the highlight of the forehead with the highlight of the brows, and I've done that by making it a small curve that follows my nostril? Nose? I don't know. The bridge of my nose, that's it, the bridge of my nose. Just create a highlight that follows a little bit the bridge of the nose, because what that's gonna do, it's gonna make your nose look a little bit smaller, because when I look at feminine noses, they don't have like a square nose. They have like a more rounded off bridge that goes until the nose. So now I like to take the small brush again that I use for the highlight of my brows, and I'm gonna do a small line on top of my nose. Let's do in the middle. Yet again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to make sure that your highlight is. So just gonna draw the line over my nose. Still looking like a crazy person, but that's fine. Now I'm taking my NB paint stick and just a big brush. So now I'm just gonna apply the foundation on the edge of the highlight, so it's gonna merge into each other. And as you're gonna blend these two together, you will see that it's gonna create more of a softer highlight color, but still give you a lot of highlighting on the face. So I'm just gonna go over the whites, but not like really forcefully, but like lightly going over the white, so it creates more of a lighter tone of my foundation. Taking the foundation a little bit underneath before I'm gonna apply the contouring. I'm just gonna do the same on the other sides. So same thing for the nose. You just wanna go to the side of the nose, tap the product in place, and just try to make it look like your nose is gonna be smaller. I like to take more width on the beginning of my nose and less width on the ending of my nose, so it starts to look like my nose is really gonna be snatched. So now that your nose is looking like Trixie Mattel, just leave it like that for a second, and we're just gonna go to the forehead. Just go to the edge of the whites, put on your foundation. When you feel like you've put on enough foundation, merge or blend the two colors together. Also on the brows again, just tap it in. I just recommend tapping on most parts of the face because it's gonna give more intensity of the foundation. So you can already see that my brow is like kind of getting blended in, and blend in the white with the foundation color. So I'm going in with a smaller brush right now to still apply foundation, but I just want a little bit more precision, so I'm choosing to go with a smaller brush to go over my nose. I'm just gonna go on the side of the nose and just try to lightly blend it together. Same on the other sides. So I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more white and just place it on top. And make sure to make your nose bridge on the end a little bit more rounded off, so it creates more of a feminine effect. Just lightly tap on the edges again to blend it all together. So you can do the same thing on the cheeks as well. Just add a little bit more highlight again, just to create a little bit more definition. And then I just like to take a big beauty blender and blend it together. So I always like to go in with a brush first and then blend it together with a small beauty blender. So we're just making sure that there's no lines or edges from brushes left behind on the face. I always like to go into the difficult corners, work it into my hair. Just making sure that everything is blended. Eyes a little bit. I'm not gonna fix my eyes right now because there's still a lot of stuff that I have to do first. So now I'm gonna go to the forehead and blend in the white a little bit more with the foundation color. And as you can see, because there's a little bit of prosade on the brows, you can see that there's like a bit more of pigment holding on to it. So I always like to try and make it as seamless as possible. So I just go in with the white again, in between, just tap it and try to marry it with the edge. So it's less visible. I can still see it because like I'm a perfectionist, but like, whatever. Okay, so now I'm gonna go in with the NB paint stick again, which is my foundation color. And we're gonna go over the eyes right now. And I just go over my eyeball, just a little bit above it, and try to get the foundation color everywhere. Marry it with the whites, and try to make everything look as seamless as possible. Can you see right now that I have put foundation on top of my eyes, that you can see like the highlight is really lifting my eyes, like the highlight on my cheek is really lifting my face, and just creating more of like an angry, snatched, pulled back face. So now that we have smattered the eyes with foundation, we're gonna use the smaller brush again to blend in the white with the foundation color. And I'm just taking strokes that are going into the same direction as the highlight meets the foundation. Just blending it out a little bit more. Just gonna put a little bit more white on the end of my brow because I can still see a little bit peeking through. I still haven't set my face. The creams can still move and blend together. Right now I'm gonna put on the last bit of foundation color on the top of my beard just to make everything seam in a little bit better. Doing the same on the other sides. Okay, now so that we have the base and the highlight on, I just want to make sure that the edges of the blending is just going to be blended even more together. So I'm taking a clean brush with nothing on it, and I'm just going to go over it and make zigzag motions. So it's going to look seamlessly. Also doing that underneath my eyes because I have a little bit of creasing going on right now. On the side of the nose, blend over everything. And then the next step would be contouring. Taking the AL paint stick, which is like a cool tone brown color. And basically when you want to do contouring, you should always work with a cool tone, because if you're gonna go in with a warm tone, it's gonna be more of a bronzer instead of like sculpting the face. So that's why I like to use a cool tone before I go in with like a warm tone. What I like to do when I look at my contour, I just look at where the light hits. So I see the light is hitting over here. So I'm just gonna go a little bit underneath that. So I'm just gonna brush a little bit of contour right here, and a little bit upwards as well, because I really want to make the face look like it's really pulled back. So basically I put the contour right underneath my cheekbone and also lifting it up above the ear. So you can really see that like the intention of my contour and my highlight is going to this point. So your mind directly thinks like, oh, has like a pulled back snapped face. And now when I do this, you can also see that there's a little bit of shadow going on right here. So I'm just gonna make it more defined by adding more cool tones. So I'm also adding a little bit right here. Okay, so now that I've added the contour on both sides, you can really see that it like slims down my face and also snatches it up. Now I'm gonna do the same on the forehead. I'm just gonna create like a Wi-Fi sign on my forehead and just make it look like a small feminine forehead. So now that I've applied the contour, it still looks like my forehead is very broad. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna shrinken it by like making the circle a little bit smaller on the sides. So it becomes more of like a round circle. So I'm gonna go in back with my clean brush, take a little bit of that contour, not too much, very lightly, and then just blend everything together. And I just like to do zigzag motions that go up and down, not really in circle motions. You can do that later with your beauty blender if you want. So now we're gonna do the same for the forehead, and then we're gonna start on with the eyes and the nose. Taking a beauty blender, I'm just gonna go over everything and blend even more. So just going over everything, you can do some circle motions just to make sure that everything is gonna be blended out. Okay, so my neighbor was really annoying and decided to drill during my video, like fucking excuse me. So I did the eyes. So what I did is like I just went above my eyelid, added the contour shade over that, and then I blended it up to the brow. It's gonna sink in your eyes, make it deeper, but also lift the eye more. So now I'm taking a small brush, going in with the same contour shade, and I'm gonna go on the side of my nose bridge just to create a nose contour. Just like my highlight, I'm gonna keep it white at the top, and then I'm gonna go very near and small and together at the bottom. Just going a little bit more in, boom. We're gonna do the same on the other sides. Just until I feel like the nose is small enough. So you really see that the nose is like slimming down. So now that I have a handsome Squidward nose, I also like to add a little bit of contour underneath my nose to lift it, because you're basically creating shadow. If you're gonna have a lifted nose, you're gonna have more shadow underneath the nose. This is the top part of my nose, so I'm gonna add a little bit more over there. And then I also like to take contour on my nostrils. Do not go above it, but like just on the bottom of the nostril. So what you can see right now is that it actually creates like a sort of ambient shadow around my nose, and I'm gonna blend it out with a clean brush to show you what kind of effect it gives. So I'm just going over the edges and blending everything together. And really make sure you also go into the inner corner of your eye. And as you can see, I go near the edge, but I don't go underneath it. So as you can see, like the sides of my nose are blended in again with my foundation, so it doesn't really look like a heavy contour. Now I want to make sure that the white highlight is gonna look like my nose has like a very small nose bridge. Taking another small brush and just lightly go over your highlights. Go a little bit underneath it and tap it together with the contour. Fix the creasing that has happened on my eye because we still haven't powdered anything off the face. Now that I'm almost done with that, I'm gonna go ahead and get my Ben 9 neutral setting powder and slap the shit out of my face. Also make sure to always blend before you're gonna set anything. So just go over it again, then take your powder puff, put it in the powder, and like really press it underneath the eye. I didn't set my eyes yet because I first want to create a new crease before I'm gonna set it. So now that you have a generic eye shape, just get your old powder puff again, load up with powder and set your eyes. So we're gonna brush it off right now with a big fat brush. Oh, this is beautiful. Okay, so now that our face is all snatched, we're gonna go on with our eyes. So for my eyes, I'm gonna be using the new Nikita Dragon palette, and I'd like to use the MTF. I think it's the most beautiful transition color to use. So I'm just gonna take that, tap it off a little bit, and just deepen the crease a little bit more by just zigzagging back and forth towards the brow bone and also on the side of my eye. Okay, so now that we have two transition shades on, I'm gonna go in with the first transition shade again and blend everything seamlessly together, and then go in with an even darker tone. So now that we are done with the eyes, we're gonna continue with the brows. I like to use a very small brush to create some new hairs and also to define my brow. So what's next? We're gonna be doing the beard, and I would like to have a bleached blonde beard. So I already bleached it a little bit, but we're gonna add some mascara on top of that to really make it look white. So now that the beard is all completed, we're gonna add some blush to give ourselves a little bit of life. And because it's a very Christmassy look, I feel like we could use a little bit more warmth on the cheeks. So I'm gonna go in with a vivid orange on my cheeks. I know this might not be the usual thing to do, but trust me. Boom. Christmassy as fuck. Oh, she's alive again. why would you stop with just one shade? We're also gonna go in with the vivid red one, and we're just gonna do that on the apples of the cheeks. And just really focus it on here. To finish off the nose, I always like to go in with the NYX white eyeliner, just to create a small dot, boom, on the top of my nose. And that really snatches everything together. So now I want to go ahead and make my eyes a little bit more interesting by adding another color on the lower line of my eyes. So I'm taking that red blush color that we used before on a small brush and just tap it off before you use. Put it underneath the eyes. So it really creates like we have an irritated eye, and I'm kind of into that. Just blend it out along the side of your eye a bit more. So I'm going back into the Nikita Dragon palette and using the color Nasty to make a black line underneath my eyes, tapping that off again. These colors are very pigmented, so I just recommend tapping off before using always. And then instead of following the normal corner of your eye, take it a little bit lower and more straight, because that is gonna create a more lifted eye effect. You know what, I didn't do this during the Christmas shooting, but let's just take the red blush color a little bit into the crease as well, just to create some color depth. Lightly wash it over what we have done before. Ooh, that is so pretty. Oh. The next step would be applying the lashes. Now that our makeup look is all completed and we're looking super snatched, I'm gonna change into a wig and an outfit, and I'll be right back. Alright, so here's my finished Christmas look. What do you think? I feel so soft, and I normally don't go this soft, so this was like a challenge for me, and honey, I slayed that challenge. So if you like this makeup transformation, then please make sure to subscribe to my channel for more videos, leave a like and comment down below. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye! I'm gonna make some pancakes. I'm gonna make some pancakes.